problem is that a lot of children here, there's no rule how many times kids can change schools. So kids will move in and out, and when they come from different school, you don't know where they were at, or so sometimes they miss it. Also, they get a lot of kids from underprivileged families, and some of them have never even been in school before. So sometimes it's not even just that it's a disability. Sometimes the kids haven't been in school. Who have a diagnosis for their child, if it's not something that is detected at birth, for example, if it's something like a learning disability, most families will either have to go to Belize City and see a medical professional, or they have to go outside to Guatemala or Mexico, where they would see specialists like a neurologist, a psychologist. We don't have very many of those professionals here in Belize, especially here in San Pedro. It makes it a lot easier, especially because majority of children with disabilities do come from underprivileged families. So sometimes their parents don't know how to read or write and don't know what questions to ask. If you don't know how to read and your child's not learning how to read, you don't necessarily know that there's a problem there. It's normal for you. So kind of pushing for those things.
Well, to a certain extent, in our country, Belize, let me speak first in the country, Belize. In 2005, Belize have been educated now about this learning disability. It was like in a box. Nobody want to speak to that. Nobody want, even at home, parents didn't want to admit the fact their child had a learning disability, and the country was not prepared, right, of the transformation of the acceptance. But in 2005, we met as part of the educating team, identify what we need to do at Belize educators. And there was an establishment, there was an organization which is attached, I won't say an organization, a department from the Ministry of Education that's called the NARCI. NARCI is a department that whenever our school do have identified children with learning disability, NARCI is a team of educators that will come to our school, and they will continue making programs and intervention and even educate the parents. Recently, I guess it's the wife of the Prime Minister Dimbaro, they established like a center in Belize, and that center is being catering for children to continue getting support from and getting not just the support physically, but also they have those electronic devices that will help the children with learning disability. Years ago, the child with a learning disability or will stay at home, and probably parents won't send them to school or to socialize with the community. But I am being we are very fortunate this year, probably 2016, that things have changed in our community of San Pedro. People have been accepting that, parents have been accepting that child have a learning disability, and there are opportunities right now because teachers now are being educated only on this special ed. We call this a special ed teacher, where the teacher is learning, giving such workshops to other teachers for them to be able to familiarize themselves that yes, we need to help children with learning disabilities. So high school, embrace them also, right?
Unfortunately, to go to high school, you have to pass the PSE, so that plays a factor in it. However, the children can receive accommodations on those standardized tests. At the same time, for a child who has severe needs, you can't take the test for them. So in that example, some families, if they have the means, will hire a private tutor. Some work through, family companies, and maybe they, I know some of the adults with special needs, some of them rake the beach or, work with town council, whether it's street cleaning, that type of thing. We don't have any public high school here, so the high school costs money. So if you have a child who really struggles, is the family going to pay to send them to school? That's another obstacle that they face. So a lot of the burden falls on the family, in terms of either the cost of sending them to high school, getting them there, and I have to explain to a lot of parents that they are their child's biggest advocate, that if they don't push for something for their child, then it's not going to happen. No one's going to hand it to them. So you have to, be confident enough to say, like, my child has a right to go to school, and I really want them in school, and how are we going to help them?
This next video is of a man who Carrie and I met at dinner one night. He had grown up on the island and lived there his entire life, and so he had many experiences with education. He told us that he had had a lot of learning difficulties going through school, and now that his daughter was also having learning difficulties. He shared with us his desire for special education and his desire for extra support and services for people with learning disabilities.
So, what is your perception of special ed on the island, or in your experiences?
In my personal experience, I'd say growing up, I had difficulty learning. Education wouldn't really.
Sorry, keep going.
No, so our largest team this year had 18 people participate, and that is a team from the University of North Carolina, Wilmington.
So when they hired me, the one student that they had was autistic, and so his family is very close with the school. He actually, when I started with him, he only knew his name. You could ask him any question, what's your name? He would answer. Then you could say, how old are you? And he would give you the same answer. You could say, what do you like to eat? He would give you the same answer. So he has made fantastic progress just in the amount of, like socializing with the other kids. He's now learning how to read. He now comes to school on his own, and we're teaching him how to go home on his own. He's learning how to handle money, making choices, all of that stuff. And so he's made a lot of progress. So it was really something, actually how it started was, he lives 12 miles up north, so he takes Coastal Express every day. And there was an incident on the boat where he was getting picked on by some of the other kids, and he wasn't able to express himself through his language, so he would end up like hitting another kid or pinching them or something like that. And the boat got upset and said, we don't know if we can take him anymore, he's really badly behaved. So it was something that I had decided that I wanted to do to help raise awareness in the community, to say, children with autism, they're not badly behaved kids. They just don't know any better, or they can't express themselves, and that's why it happens. So to kind of raise that awareness that this is something that is in our community, that kids do have it here, and we need to understand it instead of being, insensitive towards it. Like I said, when I started, people would always say to me, don't you work with the sick kids? Like, you're that teacher who works with all the kids who are sick. And I would be like, they're not sick. And I would have to explain it to them. And it really started with like just educating the everyday person who came by. And then, it's branched out so much. We have, a lot of support from town council now. I've done a lot of work with the mayor recently, getting, and so now he's saying this is something that we have, and we need to start working on this. We are the only school that is handicap accessible. 100%. So we have, the children can get into the classrooms, they can get into the bathrooms. A lot of schools will say, oh, well, they can come into our classroom that's on the first floor, but they can't use the bathroom in the school. So we do take a lot of pride in that. We had a group from Red Cross who came last year, and they built the ramp for us, and then over the summer we remodeled the bathroom to make it handicap accessible. And so for some families, like, this is the only place that their child can go to school, which is major. On and move to other schools. That's really the goal of Camp Starfish. Is we have high school students get involved, and they're buddies for each of the kids. So what we want to do there is inspire them to get involved with special education, work with people with disabilities. And for example, I had one girl who she came and shadowed the physical therapists on all of their visits, and she was like, that's something I really want to do. I'd love to go study somewhere and bring it back here, since we don't have that here. So that was something really cool. There's that, and then my hope is that in the next, few years that some of the college level programs will start offering special education. And then, what I really want to do is I want to have interns come through here. It will give me an extra set of hands, and then we're training people right off the bat. I don't want to do this forever. I love living here, I love being here, but I want to teach people to do it on their own as well. I want other people to learn, and so that every school can have a program and help children, because it's needed at every school.
First of all, I would like to see in my school that I would have teachers being able to have the experience and have a classroom that only children with disability will be there. And I would be one classroom, and once we screen them, then I believe the child have the privilege to go to the other classes as normal. We cannot discriminate it. And so far, I haven't. We do have children right now in our school that have ADHD, and they are not. Sometimes the teacher is challenged. It's a challenge for the teacher because teachers are so fully educated about how to deal with a situation like that. But I believe that there might be stage one where the child has been identified, take to the center within our school. And then once the child has been identified, intervention, then the teacher from the center can talk to the next teacher within our school, and there must be communication so that it can flow fluently and benefit the child. But like I said, my recommendation would be to have a center in our school that will be able to diagnose my children that are enrolled, and then move to another class.